her mother and brother all shot. 2 of them killed. Police say the victim's boyfriend pulled the trigger.
Look closely at what you're about to see. September 6th, 2020, 10:28 p.m. A family leaves their apartment. A mother, her daughter, her son. They're heading home after an ordinary evening together, unaware that someone has been waiting, watching. In less than 2 minutes, everything will change. Surveillance cameras captured it all. The moment a car deliberately blocks their path. The moment a figure steps out, armed and enraged. The moment a mother makes the ultimate sacrifice. But before we show you what happened that night, you need to know who they were. Because this isn't just another headline. This is about real people, a real family, and a tragedy that should never have happened. So stay with me. Because what you're about to witness will stay with you long after this video ends. This story begins in Dunwoody, Georgia, a quiet, family-oriented suburb just north of Atlanta. Known for its tree-lined streets, close-knit neighborhoods, and southern charm, Dunwoody is the kind of place where people feel safe, where neighbors know each other, where families build futures. The Dunwoody Glen Apartments sit on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, an unassuming complex where residents come and go without fear, without suspicion. But on the night of September 6, 2020, that sense of safety shattered. At approximately 10:30 p.m., police received a frantic 911 call. Shots fired. Multiple victims. A crime scene so brutal it would leave the entire community reeling. And at the center of it all was a young woman who had done nothing wrong except try to protect herself. Her name was Crystal Williams, 22 years old. Born and raised in Atlanta, Crystal was a light, the kind of person who walked into a room and made it brighter. She was smart, driven, and fiercely loved by her family. Her mother, Danielle Sims, was more than a parent. She was Crystal's biggest supporter, her protector, her best friend. Danielle celebrated every one of Crystal's achievements online, from academic milestones to personal victories. She was proud. And that pride was mutual. Crystal shared a special bond with her younger brother, Malachi. In fact, they shared the same birthday, a connection that made their relationship even deeper. Every year, they celebrated together. 2 lives intertwined by love, laughter, and unwavering loyalty. Academically, Crystal excelled. She had big dreams of independence, success, and a future she was excited to build. Those who knew her described her as warm, funny, and full of hope. But like so many young women, Crystal's path wasn't without obstacles. At the time of her death, she had recently made one of the hardest decisions of her life, to walk away from a relationship that had turned toxic. She thought she was finally free. She thought the worst was behind her. She had no idea that the man she left behind wasn't ready to let her go. If this story has already gripped you, if you believe Crystal and Danielle deserve to be remembered, then please take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you are. Share it with someone who needs to hear this story. Share it so the world remembers their names. Because silence is what allows tragedies like this to happen. And sharing their story? That's how we fight back. Crystal didn't come from wealth or privilege. What she had was something far more valuable. Love. Unconditional, unshakable love. Her mother, Danielle Sims, was 46 years old and the backbone of their family. She raised her children with fierce devotion, celebrating their wins and lifting them up through their struggles. Crystal's relationship with Justin Dion Turner started like many do, with hope, with possibility, with the belief that maybe, just maybe, this was the one. Justin was 23 years old. For about 2 months, Crystal lived with him. During that time, she allowed herself to dream. She tried on wedding gowns. She envisioned a future where she'd walk down the aisle, start a family, build a life. But dreams don't always survive reality. As weeks passed, the signs began to show. Small things at first, the kind of things you tell yourself aren't that serious. Control disguised as care, jealousy disguised as love. Questions that felt more like accusations, behavior that made her feel smaller, not stronger. Crystal began to see the cracks. The warning signs she'd ignored in the beginning were now impossible to miss. Her family watched as the light in Crystal's eyes dimmed. They saw the exhaustion, the tension, the fear she tried to hide. And they told her what she already knew deep down. You deserve better than this. You deserve to be free. So Crystal made a choice that takes more courage than most people realize. She decided to leave. With the full support of her mother and brother, Crystal walked away from Justin Turner. She walked away from the toxicity, the control, the fear. She walked away because she wanted her life back, her independence, her future. She had plans, dreams she was ready to chase, a career she wanted to build, a life she was determined to live on her own terms. Leaving wasn't easy. It never is. But Crystal believed that the hardest part was over. She believed that by walking away, she was choosing safety, choosing herself. She had no idea that Justin Turner saw it differently. To him, Crystal's decision wasn't freedom. It was betrayal, and he wasn't going to let her go. September 6th, 2020. A Sunday night. The kind of evening that feels like any other. Crystal, her mother Danielle, and her brother Malachi had spent time together at the Dunwoody Glen apartments. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would suggest what was about to happen. Around 10:28 p.m., they decided to leave. Crystal was ready to go home. Malachi was with them. Danielle was behind the wheel of their SUV. Another teenager was in the car, too, just along for the ride. They pulled out of the parking lot slowly, heading toward Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. And then, everything changed. A car suddenly cut them off, blocking their path completely. Deliberate, aggressive. There was no mistaking it. This wasn't an accident. The driver stepped out. It was Justin Turner, and he had a gun. Surveillance cameras from a nearby grocery store captured it all. The footage is grainy, but the horror is unmistakable.
Look at this surveillance video. It shows the moments leading up to when police say 23-year-old Justin Dion Turner shot and killed his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old Crystal Williams, and her mother, 46-year-old Danielle Sims. Police say Turner cut off the family's vehicle with his car as they exited the Dunwoody Glen apartments Sunday night. That's when he gets out, gun in hand.
You can see the SUV stopped in the road. You can see a figure approach. You can see the moment he raised the weapon. Crystal's family was trapped. Nowhere to go. No time to react. Justin didn't hesitate. What happened next lasted only seconds. But those seconds destroyed lives. Justin Turner opened fire. Gunshots shattered the night. Rapid, relentless, close range. Inside the SUV, chaos erupted. Screaming, confusion, terror. And then, in an act of pure instinct, Danielle Sims did what any mother would do. She threw herself in front of her children. Danielle used her own body as a shield. She stepped into the line of fire, trying to protect Crystal and Malachi from the bullets. She didn't think. She didn't hesitate. She just acted. Because that's what mothers do. But there were too many shots. Too much violence. Too much rage. Danielle was struck. Fatally. She fell. Crystal was hit too, multiple times. She didn't stand a chance. Malachi somehow was also struck but survived. A teenager in the back seat ducked down just in time, avoiding injury but witnessing everything. And then, just as quickly as it started, it was over. Justin Turner got back in his car, and he drove away, leaving behind 2 women dead, a young man wounded, and a community about to be torn apart. At 10:31 p.m., the first 911 call came in. Shots fired, multiple victims, Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. Dunwoody police arrived within minutes. What they found was a scene of unimaginable horror. 2 women, Crystal Williams and Danielle Sims, were pronounced dead. Crystal was found at the scene. Danielle was rushed to the hospital but didn't survive. Malachi Williams, 19 years old, was critically wounded. He was taken to Atlanta Medical Center, where doctors fought to save his life. Physically, he would survive. But emotionally, the scars would never fully heal. The 4th passenger, a teenager, was physically unharmed but traumatized beyond words. As investigators processed the scene, the evidence told a clear and chilling story. This wasn't random. This was targeted. This was personal. Witness statements and surveillance footage quickly identified the shooter, Justin Dion Turner, Crystal's ex-boyfriend. And he was gone. A manhunt began immediately. Alerts went out across Atlanta. Local schools and businesses were put on lockdown. Neighborhoods were warned to stay inside. The community was gripped by fear. Who was this man? Where was he? And would he strike again? For hours, Justin Turner was a ghost. But by the next morning, authorities had closed in. On September 7, 2020, Justin was arrested in Atlanta. He was taken into custody without incident. No remorse, no resistance, just cold, detached silence. He was charged with 2 counts of murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. And as the details emerged, the community learned something even more disturbing. This wasn't Justin's first brush with violence. Just months earlier, in April 2020, he'd been arrested and charged with aggravated assault against a police officer. He was released shortly after. Now 2 women were dead, and people were left asking the same question. Could this have been prevented? In the days following the shooting, investigators had evidence. They had surveillance footage. They had witnesses. But they also had something more powerful. They had Malachi Williams, the sole survivor, Crystal's brother, Danielle's son, and he was ready to speak. Malachi's testimony was heartbreaking. Sitting with investigators, still recovering from his physical wounds, he described the night in vivid, painful detail. He told them how Crystal had been trying to break free from Justin, how she'd finally found the courage to walk away, how their mother had supported that decision completely. He described the moment Justin's car cut them off, the confusion, the terror, the realization that this wasn't an accident, and then the gunfire. Malachi recalled his mother's final act, Danielle stepping between her children and the man with the gun, using her body as a shield, taking the bullets meant for them. "My mom wasn't kidding when she said she'd die for her children," Malachi told reporters later, his voice breaking. "She used herself as a shield for my sister. He was point blank, right there. And he just, boom, boom, boom." Malachi was hit too, but somehow, incredibly, he survived. "I don't know how he missed," Malachi said. "I don't know how I'm still here." His survival wasn't luck. It was his mother's love. Her sacrifice bought him seconds that saved his life. But those same seconds couldn't save Crystal. Malachi described his sister as the light of their family, the funny one, the life of everything. "I'm angry and sad," he said. "I've never felt that combination before. It's immense, and I'll never forgive him, ever in my life." Malachi's words gave investigators everything they needed. Not just evidence of murder, but motive. Justin Turner hadn't just snapped. He'd hunted them down. He'd planned it. He'd executed it. And now, the justice system would have to answer for letting him walk free months earlier. By the morning of September 7th, they had his location. Justin was arrested in Atlanta without incident. No chase. No standoff. He surrendered quietly, as if he knew it was over. When officers searched his vehicle, they found the weapon used in the shooting. Ballistics would later confirm it matched the bullets recovered from the scene. Justin was booked into the DeKalb County Jail and charged with 2 counts of murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. On September 9th, 2020, just 3 days after the murders, Justin Turner appeared before a judge for the first time. The courtroom was packed. Family members, community members, media. Everyone wanted to see the man who had shattered so many lives. And what they saw chilled them to the bone. Justin showed no emotion, no remorse, no reaction. He stood before Magistrate Judge Joyce Neal, his face blank, his posture indifferent. As the charges were read aloud, 2 counts of murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during a felony. Justin didn't flinch. Judge Neal addressed him directly. "Your charges are the types of charges that I cannot set bond on," she said. "Your attorney will need to file a bond motion. It usually takes about 2 or 3 weeks to get before a superior court judge. Then they will decide whether or not to grant bond." Justin said nothing. His silence spoke volumes. Outside the courtroom, Crystal's family was devastated. They had hoped to see some sign of humanity, some flicker of regret. But there was nothing. "Not only did he throw his life away," one community member said, "he took somebody's life just because of some kind of domestic dispute. It's senseless. It's heartbreaking." Another added, "It just makes our community stronger and tighter. You never know when it's your last day. It's just sad. It just sums it up. Just sad." Justin would remain in custody without bond. His trial date was set for the following year. And as the wheels of justice slowly turned, Crystal's family was left to grieve, to remember, to honor the lives stolen from them. Few days following the murders, the Dunwoody community rallied around Crystal and Danielle's family. A vigil was held outside the Dunwoody Glen apartments. Dozens of people gathered, holding candles, laying flowers, sharing memories. Danielle was remembered as a protector, a fighter, a mother who loved her children so fiercely that she gave her life to save them. "She wasn't just a mom," one friend said through tears. "She was their everything." The vigil wasn't just about grief. It was about rage, frustration, and a desperate call for change. A funeral was held days later. It was a packed service, filled with family, friends, and strangers who had been moved by their story. Malachi spoke. His voice was steady, but his pain was clear. "My sister was the life of everything," he said. "And my mom? She saved my life. She died so I could live. I'll carry that with me forever." Crystal and Danielle were laid to rest side by side. 2 lives, intertwined in love, now joined in eternity. But their story didn't end with their burial. It became a rallying cry. Crystal Williams and Danielle Sims are gone, but their story refuses to be forgotten. Because this wasn't just about one man's rage. This was about a system that failed them, a culture that too often ignores the warning signs, a society that tells women to just leave but doesn't protect them when they do. Crystal did leave. She chose herself. She chose freedom, and she was killed for it. That's the reality of domestic violence. Leaving is often the most dangerous time. Because abusers don't see it as a breakup. They see it as a loss of control, and some of them will do anything to take that control back. Justice in a courtroom is important. But real justice means making sure this never happens again. Crystal Williams was 22 years old. She had dreams, she had plans, she had people who loved her. Danielle Sims was 46 years old. She was a mother, a protector, a hero. They deserved to live. They deserved to be safe. They deserved better. And if their story has moved you, if it's made you think, made you feel, made you angry, then don't let it end here. Share this video. Share it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, everywhere. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone who might be in danger. Share it so Crystal and Danielle's names are never forgotten. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think. Tell us how this story affected you. Tell us what needs to change. Because silence is what allows tragedies like this to happen. And your voice can save a life. Rest in peace, Crystal Williams. Rest in peace, Danielle Sims. You will not be forgotten.